Hi, I'm Rob Poyton. Thanks for joining me on today's Dragon Teeth, where I'm looking at current affairs, or as we may call it, Reasons to be Cheerful, Part 3. I know, it's a compulsion. I am seeking help. So yeah, I just thought I'd bring you up to date on a few recent events and a couple of plans for the future. First off, I attended the Bedford Tabletop Expo a couple of weeks back, organised by Robin and his team at Hobby Hive. Once again, this was an excellent weekend of tabletop gaming, modelling, all sorts of stuff going on, RPGs, bring and buy sale, lots of traders there as well, and demo and participation games. Now, normally when I've been to this the past couple of years, I'm wearing my Innsmouth gold hat, so I'm selling books and my old other bits and pieces, rules, comics, that kind of thing. This year, I thought as We Want the Gold is now out, I'd put on a participation game for that. So my table was over with the Bedford contingent, the Bedford Gladiators, and also Matt and Mark were playing at the table next to me as well. I set up the Innsmouth table, as you can see here, and I'm very pleased with how this is developing now. Still not quite finished, more about that in a little bit. But the table and the layout did garner quite a few compliments throughout the day, so I was very pleased with that. I did get a few people to join in. We ran a couple of sessions, and Matt and Neil from the Gladiators also helped out as well. Everyone seemed to enjoy it. I sold some rule books, which I was very pleased about. More importantly, the game worked very nicely. Everyone picked up the rules very quickly. And as I say, a good time was had by all. Well, except perhaps for the halflings, who in both games didn't do very well at all. But you know, you win some, you lose some. Because of that, I wasn't able to do any filming this year. Normally when I go to a convention, I like to film and show you some of the things that are going on there. Wasn't able to do that this time, but as I say, it was a very good mix of traders, demo games, participation games, display games, models, and so on and so on. I was also very pleased to meet Carl there from Crooked Dice. So Crooked Dice are an amazing range of figures. I have more than a few in my collection, and they're very good for skirmish games. In fact, the reason for that is Crooked Dice also produced their own skirmish game called 7TV. And Carl was showing me, I thought this was wonderful. So you can buy a rule book, you know, maybe you can print out a PDF. What you get with 7TV is an old 70s, 80s style video case, the old video cassette case, and it's got some great artwork on the front, and you open it up and there are all your game components inside. Given, of course, that the theme of a lot of these games is 70s and 80s TV shows. I thought that was really great, really innovative. So I'll put the Crooked Dice link down below. Do go and have a look. I'm not responsible for any damage to your bank balance. Speaking of which, I did get a chance to do a little bit of shopping, including on the Crooked Dice stall, because they also produce Sarissa buildings. And I got this lovely bandstand that's going to go into the Innsmouth build. The great thing with this is it comes ready coloured. It's ready painted. Of course, it's going to get the Innsmouth treatment. It will get the Innsmouth wash. But that's going to make an excellent new addition to my Innsmouth build. And also in the Bring and Buy sale, I got this Tabletop Scenics clock tower as well. Again, that's another worthy addition to my Innsmouth build. I'm not sure what time the clock should be set to. I sort of have a feeling the clock shouldn't be working in Innsmouth, but we'll sort out that when we get to it. So those are going into the build. Hopefully, I've got a bit of time this weekend. Hopefully this weekend I'm going to make a start on these. Also, as part of that build, I want to start making some pavements or sidewalks, depending which side of the Atlantic you're on, because I still think, although the build is coming along nicely, the table still needs a few more bits and pieces just to fill it out. There are a few big gaps, so some more scatter terrain. I'll be starting that this weekend. Let's next look at my current RPG situation. That's looking very good, very healthy. The Rolemaster campaign is starting up again this Monday, I believe. You may remember we've had a short break from that because the previous setting, it wasn't really gelling, it wasn't really working so well with the group that we have. So Darren took the brave and excellent decision, I thought, to say, okay, let's reset, let's try another setting, re-roll your characters, and we'll start again. A sort of control or delete, if you will. So I'm really looking forward to see what he's come up with. It's going to be based, the setting is going to be based in a sort of dying empire, the last days of the empire, or the empire has just expired. And I think we're playing a group of former soldiers or something like that. We have rolled up our characters. We're coming in at higher level this time. And of course, this being Rolemaster and me being numerically challenged, Darren very kindly did all my skills and stats and everything for me. Because as much as I enjoy playing Rolemaster, I still can't get my head around the levels. Anyway, that's starting Monday. Looking forward to that. And I'm also pleased to say that my Mothership campaign is now up and running. I'm doing that online, which is a first for me, and it's proving to be a bit of a steep learning curve because I'm recording the sessions as well. Episode 1 is up already, titled The Iron Coffin. You can watch the playthrough for that. We had our second session last night. Now, unfortunately, I tried a different setup and I did have some issues with audio, but hopefully I can get those sorted out in post-production and I'll get that second episode up as soon as possible. We've got 5 great players. The setting is my own Assault Team 5 setting, so they're members of a covert ops unit, and it's a nice range of characters from the sort of former military special forces guy through to the professional crook, through to a psychoanalyst, and so on and so on. And it's great to see how the guys have developed these characters, and even within the first 2 sessions, the characters are really coming through. One of the reasons I picked Mothership was there's a lot less emphasis on statistics in it. In fact, you only really roll the dice when things are going quite wrong. And to me, at least in this setting, there's a lot more emphasis on developing the characters. So I'll put the link down below for the Mothership playlist. That goes through the setting and background, some of the rule tweaks that I've made, and we've got that first episode up there as well. So I'm nicely sorted in my RPG gaming. I'm playing in one game and I'm running another. That's great. Tabletop, not so good. I've not really done any tabletop gaming as such for quite some time. We had the Bane Wars campaign part 2, came to a bit of a premature end unfortunately, and the only tabletop action I got in that was setting up a game here and playing through it myself, because as I mentioned in that, Niels, the Alt Commander, lives in California, so a bit difficult for him to pop over. Yeah, I was hoping for more tabletop action with that, but it didn't turn out. Also, of course, I've got all my Second World War stuff, my 1/300th, my 28mm. I still, someday, am going to get around to finishing my Napoleonic navals and would like to bring those out. However, my big problem is Bedford Gladiators meet on a Monday night and it clashes with one of my classes. Basically, my class finishes at 7, it's a quick drive down, and I normally get there about 7:30. For the RPG setting, this is fine because I can just come in, sit down, start playing straight away. Of course, if you're running a tabletop game or you're involved in tabletop, someone has to set up the table, get all the figures out, etc, etc. So it does take a bit of time. Now there is the all-day Sunday as well, once a month, but again that can sometimes be awkward. Sunday's usually a sort of family day, you know, so it is difficult sometimes there to get the whole day off to go and do gaming. And also I find it's kind of a blessing and a curse in a way. There's so much choice these days in terms of what you can play, from Zombicide through to Napoleonics, through to whatever you like. So there's so many systems vying for player attention, it's sometimes difficult to find people who want to do your particular game or your particular rule set or setting or whatever it is. However, I have been casting around. There are some other clubs in the area. I know there's a club over in Rushden that's not far away from me. Phoenix, the Phoenix Club, I think. They meet on a Tuesday though, and I've got the same issue there. My class finishes at 7 in Bedford, so Bedford to Rushden is going to take at least half an hour, probably more, to get there. I did then discover there is a War Games group in Huntingdon. Now, Huntingdon is, well, it's about the same distance for me as Bedford, because we live right on the Bedfordshire-Cambridgeshire border. In fact, where we live used to be part of Huntingdonshire. So I'm going to pop up there this Thursday. They start at 6 o'clock as well, I think, which is great. That gives a little bit more time, because on a Thursday my class is in the morning. So Thursday afternoons and evenings are free. I sent them a message saying, is it okay just to turn up? They got a nice message back saying, yeah, that's fine. We've got this going on, we've got that going on. They seem to have quite a wide range of things going on, and quite a large attendance as well, from what I gather. So I'm going there next Thursday. I'll let you know how that goes. And hopefully that means I can get back into doing some tabletop stuff, whether that's 10mm fantasy, 1/300th Russian front, or action under sail, or, you know, whatever else is on offer as well. Because, again, the advantage of going to a club is other people bring new things in that you've not tried before, and you get the chance to give them a go. So just going back to the Innsmouth build, one reason I want to complete that and get it looking as good as I can is because I want to start taking that to a lot more conventions this year. I know Salute is in a few weeks' time down in London. I think it's at Excel again. Probably won't be demoing at that one, but I certainly will be going down there to have a mooch around and no doubt do a bit of shopping. So I'll be able to film that one. Just on the subject as well of running a participation game, because I've never done this before, and I did find it difficult sometimes to get people in. Now, when I first ran We Want the Gold at the Innsmouth Literary Festival, more about that in a moment, that was kind of easy, because we said, right, the game is starting at 12 o'clock. If you want to join in, come over to the table and sign up. And we did it that way. And everyone at the ILF, as you might imagine, is is going to be very keen on taking part in a game set in Innsmouth. So that was pretty easy. At a more general show, I did get people to join in, but I wasn't sure what is the best way to do this. Is it to say, right, we're going to start the first session at 10:30, come back then? Or do you sort of get the game going, and do you grab people as they're walking past and say, oh, look, we've got a space here. Do you want to take charge of the deep ones, for example? And of course, with this sort of game, people can drop in and play for a few turns, or they can play for the whole scenario. I do cut these down a bit. So a scenario on that sort of day, a convention scenario, is going to be about an hour long rather than your normal sort of 2 or 3 hours. But I'd be very interested to hear any tips that any of you have for getting people at conventions involved in your demonstration game, preferably stuff that doesn't involve arm locks or any type of physical pressure or coercion. So yeah, I posted here recently some of the diary dates coming up. Certainly going down to Salute. I know we've got Hereward up in Peterborough going on. I'm hopefully going to be running a We Want the Gold session there. And of course, as I briefly mentioned, the Innsmouth Literary Festival, Saturday, September the 19th this year. Our two guests of honour are the author and editor Stephen Jones and the excellent artist, one of my favourite fantasy artists, Les Edwards, who did a lot of the illustrations for the Call of Cthulhu rulebook. And of course, as well as those special guests, we'll have our regular gathering of authors, filmmakers, publishers. So there'll be talks, panels, lectures. We'll have our trader hall, of course, where you can buy anything from Cthulhu bobble hats to oil paintings to artwork to old books, very rare books in some cases, to new books and everything in between. We'll have our games room going on with a couple of display games and some sessions you can drop in on as well, including that Escape from Innsmouth We Want the Gold scenario. And just to round the whole event off, we have Innsmouth After Dark, a local club, an evening of Lovecraftian spoken word, performance, music, and even comedy. You can still get early bird tickets just for another few days or so. I'll put the link below, of course, and we look forward to seeing you in what has been described as oddly moist Bedford. That's it for today then. As I said, just a quick update of some current events. This Sunday I'll be cracking on with the Innsmouth build again, getting that clock tower and the bandstand put together, making a start on some pavements or sidewalks. Oh, and Nigel down at the Gladiators is now in full 3D printing mode. He's actually building a Peaky Blinders board at the moment. He's got all the figures and he's making some fantastic terrace buildings and cobbled streets and that sort of thing. He's printing out some old-fashioned lampposts, so I'm going to snark a few of those off him, and they will look very nice in the Innsmouth build as well, I'm sure. Oh, and a quick welcome to all the new subscribers. I've noticed we've picked up a few over the last couple of months, so that's very encouraging. Thank you for subscribing. It really does help the channel grow. If you haven't already, please do click the like, share and subscribe buttons. Do let me know any of your thoughts or advice, tips, especially when it comes to recruiting the willing or unwilling for your participation games. Very interested to get some tips on that. Thanks again for watching. Take care, and I'll see you soon.